Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Tholian Web, it's a web. It's a very slow-moving web that you can easily escape because it's so slow-moving. It's the equivalent... It's the equivalent of if I was building a prison around someone while I was asking them to stand still.
Very good, Mike.
I mean, right?
The Spider-Man. I like that. Yeah, it's a very slow-moving web. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies. I am, of course, your host, Captain Matt Ross, with my co-host, XO Michael Pontone. So, I assume you like this one and the very slow-moving web for tonight's episode, The Tholian Web.
It's got problems. It's got strengths. It's got weaknesses. We'll get into it. It's a bit of a mishmash. I'm amazed at how many little snippets showed up later and were pulled for later Trek. I mean, right off the top, right? The next phase, TNG.
Yes, there's that. That's there is something with like interphase, as Spock says. There is that. This also comes back in Enterprise in the two-part Mirror Darkly episode where we see the continuation of the evil Terran Empire and what happens to the USS Defiant, which is what this is. But tonight's episode, The Tholian Web, it's from the third season of the original series. It's considered one of the better ones of the original series, and it suffers from a lot of the third series stuff. What's your general impression, and had you seen this before? Or
I had not seen this before. No. Once again, I've seen very little Trek in my lifetime. TOS.
Fake fan.
Shut up, fake fan. I think I'm more emotional about this than you are.
You need a triple hug. That's what you need.
No, ladies and gentlemen, let me just point this out, right? I have talked to Matt about Star Trek in our private life, and it overwhelms me sometimes, the feelings I have for the show. I've gotten choked up talking about Spock's death scene in Wrath of Khan, and Captain's just like, yeah, whatever. He was wearing those gloves because he had a manicure. I'm just like, So I am actually the real Trek fan. He just has more knowledge about it.
I wouldn't go that far.
His heart's in the fandom. His head's in the fandom. My heart's in the fandom. Okay, all right. Listen, we can't have this infighting. We're just like the people on the ship, tearing each other apart.
Right. That's right. And besides, I could still send you to the agony booth at any time. Anyway, let's talk about what tonight's episode is, The Tholian Web. It's the episode from November 15th, 1968. It was written by actually two new writers, Judy Burns and Chet Richards. They were college students. Judy Burns wanted to be an anthropologist and was looking for money to get to Africa, needed $2,500, which is, $1 bazillion in today's money. And Chet Richards, it was trying to be an astrophysicist. They went like, sure, what the heck, let's write a story. And they got into this. But before we get into that detail, let's talk about what this episode is about from the NBC press release, which is released on October 21st. It says, Mr. Spock and Dr. McCoy attempt to locate Captain Kirk's body, which fades in and out of view in space while the Enterprise is gradually engulfed in a trap in the Tholian Web on NBC's television network. That's pretty accurate in a weird kind of way. I like this episode, just to let you know. I want to also let you know this was not regularly on WPIX in New York when this was originally, or when the original series was played almost every day. And so I hadn't actually seen this until I was almost in college. That was the first time I had actually seen it. So I never understood how Captain Kirk seemed floating about. But it starts off as a rescue mission looking for the USS Defiant, a name which I'm sure you're in love with already, right?
I mean, I love the Defiant as a ship. I love the design. I love every captain that's ever captained it, i.e. Sisko and Worf. Yep. Who doesn't like the Defiant? I would not... I always think to myself, okay, if I had to divvy up starships to my friends and family, I would take the Defiant, even though it would hurt me because, of course, there's no like holodeck or anything.
Well,
But
yeah, that's true. But the Defiant here was actually originally named the Scimitar when they originally wrote it. I'm glad they changed it to the Defiant. It sounds more Starfleety than Scimitar.
about to say, Scimitar comes back in the movie that shall not be named.
Okay, we won't name that movie, but this film is actually pretty good film. This episode was okay. It's a little weird, I agree with you. As the Enterprise is looking for the USS Defiant on a search and rescue mission, and they get into this weird area of space.
The Enterprise is approaching the last reported position of the starship Defiant, which vanished without trace 3 weeks ago. We are in unsurveyed territory.
Where we see the Defiant kind of glowing green and fading out. I want to point out that the effects here are on the enhanced version. It's slightly different, but even in the original broadcast, it's got a greenish glow. You can actually take a look, and I'm going to post it in the community channel, the comparison of the special effects between the original series, original, and the enhanced version. There are some differences, but I think it still holds up pretty well both ways. But it also gives us an excuse with one of the funniest things in this is that they decide they have to beam on the Defiant because they can't reach anyone, even though it seems like it's fading out. And it's the first time we see non-shower curtain spacesuits. What'd you think of those suckers?
The first thing I said when I saw them was like, you know what? Instantly, I was impressed by Star Trek First Contact set designers, or costume designers rather, because spacesuits that Captain Picard, Worf, and Hawk wear are a little bit like this. There's something slightly comparable to this. So, of course, the first thing I'm like, wait, why are they wearing spacesuits? This is the first time anyone's ever been concerned about pathogens or atmosphere. But, of course, we see by the end of the episode it's because he's going to be floating in space for a bit. Although, they didn't have to have spacesuits. They could have just had him floating in space as a person.
They could have, but there's a couple of things on the spacesuits is that they hated them because they had to be sewn into them. There's no zippers or anything. It's a Roddenberry rule, by the way. No zippers in space. Well, with him, I was thinking like no pants in space, but they had to be sewn in. So every time they needed to take, right?
You dirty dog.
Yeah. But, in order to, every time someone had to make a pee break, they'd have to be unsewn and then re-sewn back in. They all hated these outfits, and they were actually put together at the last minute because they had no idea. And there's a whole to-do about it because originally in the original story they had this thing called force field belts. And the producers said, yeah, but then we won't be able to show anyone in peril if they have these belts where they're like invulnerable to everything. And so that these suits were created to make a peril with time limits, as you even noted that, there's a limit of oxygen and so forth. And they could
that would have been fine. The force field belts would have been fantastic because it would have just been one line. It would have been like it'll create a atmosphere around you for a certain period of time for pressure and breathing, but it's not going to stop a projectile. Like that's it. It would just be. It's not armor. A spacesuit is not armor.
Well, you'll like the animated series because the force field belts come back into that. So there's that. They also kind of appear, if I recall correctly, in the 25th anniversary Star Trek game on DOS and PC, which you can get from Good Old Games. So you do have that. Yeah, that's actually a lot of fun, by the way. But this is weird when they get onto the USS Defiant. Everyone is killing each other.
The captain's neck is broken.
I remember when we started this in the office, it was like, you laughed at like, they go like, Bones, what happened here? These people killed each other. It's like, no kidding. They're all like, they got like, the captain's got his neck broken while the navigator is choking him and like everyone's dead. But it's also kind of scary. When you really think about it, they walk through like in sick bay, you see like people like it kind of reminded me of like a zombie movie where you have like the zombies tied down to the beds and like they're trying to figure out what's going on and everyone's acting crazy and it all had to deal with the space they're in.
Has there ever been a mutiny on a starship before?
Absolutely no record of such an occurrence, Ensign.
Anyway, I like that entire concept where like it looks like kind of like a bad hospital scene in like The Walking Dead. You see everyone's tied down and everyone's like killing each other. It's very disturbing as you're walking through. One of the things I think the original series had is a lot of body horror and horror on top of the science fiction. What's your impression of how that looked and acted?
Fine, but here's the problem. And we're going to get into this, obviously. This episode has too much going on. And
Yes.
they're all disconnected plot elements. Listen. You have got the psychosis causing everyone to kill each other, which we see in, like, what is that, Night Terrors in TNG?
Yes.
Then we have thin area of space and interphase.
According to our instruments, space itself is literally breaking up.
That's next phase. Then we have conflict with seemingly superior alien race that's kind of trapping us somehow, which is any number of different things. That's kind of like clues in TNG. We've already seen this a couple of times. I feel like similar to like the Gorn episode.
This is your opponent, Gertly.
So we've got at least three elements that could be plots unto themselves, and then wrapped around this all is this kind of interpersonal plot with Bones and Spock dealing with the potential for the captain being dead. They needed to pare it down and to merge some of the stories, and make them reliant on each other. Do you realize that the Tholian Web, has nothing to do with the peril that they're in, that the captain's in, or the madness being experienced by the crew? It's just another thing.
Yeah. No, 100%. The writers were new writers, so they had absolutely no clue really how to pare it down. And in fact, a lot of people, like production people and NBC, were saying, like, you got very similar stories. We've got another missing Constitution-class starship.
Right. Oh, my God. I forgot about that. Yes.
Yeah. You got Spock in command with McCoy giving him crap. You got Kirk has vanished, in a sense. You got McCoy wanting to mourn the dead again. Space madness. Oh, and Chekhov screaming. So, you got the whole bit, especially the Chekhov screaming. I mean, you can't have too much of that. It's like almost the same story. And in our source material, it takes a special note to say it was not written by staff writers. So it had 6 rewrites by the original writers. It had 3 more by the assistant to Freiberger, Art Singer. And Freiberger also rewrote portions of it 6 times.
Oh, my goodness.
So so you got 12. We got 15 rewrites of this original story. It was missing stuff. In fact, they added the Tholians because they're disjointed story voices, because they didn't have enough, believe it or not, to make it go an hour, because they didn't connect all the other pieces together.
Right, exactly.
Too well.
Okay, that's the thing. If you connected them, then you'd have scenes about how they're connected and problem solving based on that. Instead, you just kept on adding different things.
That's right, to hide the infirmities in the script. Originally, they wanted it where Spock was like sort of dead in a ghost-like universe, and they were trying to get him, and Art Singer and Freiberger said, no, we can't do that. And even Roddenberry, who still had input at this point, said, no, that's not a good idea. So they decided to make Shatner the one disappeared so they could concentrate on Nimoy and Kelly, because they thought they would make the actors a little bit happier over there.
Uh-huh.
Interestingly, the way Burns came up with this idea, she would actually record Star Trek, that's audio record, because VHS has not been invented or available yet at this time, to record stuff so she could get an idea how to write. She actually was taking a writing class, and her writing professor happened to work on Land of the Lost and other things, so had an in to Freiberger, and that's how she got an in into the Star Trek people. And she was so gutsy, she called up Paramount and said, hey, can I come on in? And since everyone was on vacation, the secretary said, sure, come on in here. So she just lucked out. That's really
God bless
how she got in. Yeah, so the secretary to Roddenberry, who's still sort of in charge, gave her like the Bible and a story DC Fontana wrote as an outline, so she kind of how she could do it. So everyone was really like pushing her to do it. They needed scripts for the third season, believe it or not, because a lot of people were turned off by NBC and Roddenberry's strict controls. And some people didn't like Freiberger either because they were afraid he was turning it into an action show. Surprise. But
Sure.
that's kind of where we're at.
Not too much action in here, although I do like the fisheye lens when people are going
Yes.
crazy.
That's
And I don't
yeah.
know.
That's
Let me just jump in. Okay, plus side, things that I do admire about this episode. Everything looked very professional. Like the cinematography looked good, the set design looked particularly good, the shots. I don't know, everything was framed very nicely and professionally. It's just that the script was like all like loose, silly, all over the place, undisciplined.
Well, the reason why the script looked good is that it was originally, and actually for most of it, was filmed by Ralph Sineski. That's one of our hero directors from seasons 1 and 2. He actually was fired in mid-script by Freiberger because he kept running over budget and time. So he didn't even know about it. He was called on in, and he was like, well, I'm out of here. And they hired a new guy in the middle called Herb Wallerstein, who finished off the stuff. But Sinensky said, like, I did all the hard work, which that's true. He actually did most of the scene work on this. So you'll see a slight difference like in the midpoint. But I'm going to point out something to you. I had mentioned this to you when we were watching it in the office. I think the big problem this episode has, as a lot of third season does, there's a extreme slowness on a lot of it. It also is missing some charm. And I think the reason for that is that you don't have Gene Kuhn anymore. You also don't have Gene Roddenberry and D.C. Fontana. They're all gone. But in reality, I think Gene Kuhn and Fontana were the souls of the show. Kuhn would add like quippy dialogue, and it would tighten it up someplace and be more fun. This is very serious all the way through from the, and it's very, I find that in most of third season scripts, there's a sort of lack of a charm or friendliness of the crew. I mean, last episode, Kirk kept calling Spock science officer as opposed to Mr. Spock or Spock.
That's the thing,
it's
too.
A little...
Like, the animosity that immediately erupts between McCoy and Spock, it kind of comes out of nowhere. It certainly doesn't relay that they've been friends.
And done everything in your power to safeguard your crew. That is the mark of a starship captain, like Jim. Doctor, I hardly believe this is the time for comparisons.
And they are friends for years who care about each other. I mean, look at the first episode, right? Look at the Salt Vampire episode, where Spock is pleading for his buddy to realize that he's being had and like putting himself in danger for that. And suddenly like they're kind of like quipping at each other in a little bit of a nasty way and in like a very uncomfortable way. Like they're just work colleagues who are disagreeing with each other. I wasn't crazy about that. And again, so let me just tell ladies and gentlemen here, I watched this episode. Matt and I were in the office on lunch. We watched it until about the 25-minute mark. And then I was just getting phone calls and texts, and I was like, also the episode was getting boring. Like nothing was happening. They had the same conversation about Kirk dying like 3 times in 9 minutes. And I'm like, this is nothing. And it's just like, and then, as opposed to because, getting to the next scene. I'm like, I'm giving up on this. And then once I come back and finish it, then it starts to move along. Then we have everything, McCoy working on the cure, people starting to see images of Kirk. By the way, obviously, huge comic book nerd. You've read Watchmen, yes?
Yes.
So the images of Dr. Manhattan, he appears after he gets disintegrated. He's slowly piecing himself back together around the fort where he was disintegrated.
Yeah, like with the nervous system walking around and with the eyeballs and all that. Yeah. Well, it's kind of...
Well, I mean, it's different, but people think that they're seeing a ghost. But no, he's just like pulling himself back together. Also, like, I feel bad because a little bit feel bad. Why would I feel bad? We lost a little something in this series. I'm going to tell you what. The first episode, Salt Vampires, it's an ensemble show. They have Yeoman Rand is a huge part of it. Uhura is a huge part of it. George Sulu and Uhura are, in the botany thing, and they're talking about space plants and everything. All that goes away. It becomes the Kirk, McCoy, Spock show. It stops
The Trinity.
but it's every episode, and it stops being like a quirky life on a spaceship thing, and it becomes our three intrepid heroes going through the galaxy.
That's quite true. That's it.
Which I'm not as big a. It's why I like Deep Space Nine, which is why one day when I watch Babylon 5, I like Babylon 5.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not. It's a similar issue. It's always the triumvirate. Not that I hate the idea, but it doesn't drag in the others as much. Maybe Scotty, you could put him there as like the fourth wheel. But I mean, like you keep mentioning the salt vampire episode, but I got to mention even in that episode in the first scene where McCoy wakes up and says, I'm having trouble sleeping. And Kirk says, take one of those pills you gave me last week. You'll sleep. Mm-hmm. And that's a very human-like phrase. Sure. That's missing a lot of that type of charm and like average normal conversation that you would have today. And it's missing in almost every third season episode. This one particularly. It almost feels like we're talking about against the types that we've seen so far. I mean, McCoy was even less harsh on Spock in the Galileo 7, where Spock's in command of the shuttlecraft. It seems like he's almost instantly down Spock's throat the second he takes command of the Enterprise. And there's this conversation they have like, I'm going to try and remedy you being captain. And like, I can't believe you want this as captaincy. It's like,
must admit, I don't understand you, Spock. But I just can't believe that you would want Jim's command. Doctor, I am in command of the Enterprise. I would like to remedy that situation.
Are you kidding me? The ship is drifting in and out of this area of space. They're under attack. They're losing power. The crew's going crazy. And I'm trying to make a command decision to try and save the Captain Kirk, and you're telling me to leave? It doesn't really make sense from McCoy's point of view. It's a little odd. You know, it's missing that. What did you think of like Chekhov, of course, being the first one to scream and lose his mind? Anything on that, or did you expect it?
I mean, isn't he always like the young, reactive type? Like that same thing with the people turning old.
Yeah. He's also like the one with Day of the Dove. He's, his brother Fyodor, which doesn't exist. Yes, it's very, I guess, typical. It's always like even in the motion picture, who's the first one to scream? Except for the melting people in the transporter, it's Chekhov.
Right. Oh yeah, I'm so excited. So I think I've mentioned it a few times before. I've got a lovely little daughter who's 19 months old now, and oh my goodness, it's delightful. And I've got I'm a huge film fan and nerd, obviously, and I wanted to introduce her to stuff without streaming it or just it being on the device. So I pulled my old hybrid CRTV VHS player out from mothballs and have it set up in my apartment. And I showed her how to push in the cassette and press play. She doesn't have too much interest in it now, but I just got all 6 movies of the original series, motion picture through Undiscovered Country. They just arrived today. So she's gonna see people die in a 1 in a million transporter accident soon enough.
I'm longing for the day when you stop referring to your daughter in months, because I have a child that's 196 months and another one that's 96 months. That's 16 and 8. So that's coming up soon, though, Mike, when she turns 2. But I think that's I can't wait for her to fall asleep on Star Trek the motion picture and the other stuff, and then say, I want to see, and whatever the cartoon of the day is. Probably still Bluey. But I liked, right now, just getting back to our episode, like when they escaped the ship, they left Spock behind originally. I think I don't see why you wouldn't have Kirk stay behind. It kind of makes more sense Kirk staying behind, you know?
Well,
You agree with that?
of course. I mean, if I was the captain and I had gone on an away mission, I would send my men back before me. And that's be a very
Yeah.
Kirk thing to do.
Yeah, it's like also it's like, you know, you go down with the ship. That's the type of thing. I thought that was actually perfect. The idea of interphase with the Defiant disappearing. I also like the tension of that. Like, where's the ship? There's nothing to grab, Scotty is saying.
Mm-hmm.
Done all I can. There's nothing out there to grab a hold of and bring in. When that ship went, it must have taken the captain with it.
But while they're sitting there and they're calculating what's going to happen, we do have our bad guys, the slow-moving bad guys, the Tholians show up. I like their triangle ships. That has not changed so much between the original standard definition version and the enhanced version. There's still triangles. I mean, the enhanced version's more digital. I like that the Tholians are crystal. By the way, Tholians are named after a Greek island called Thalos. That was just picked up because it sounded cool. But I like the idea that they're crystalline or silicon based. I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, but like, who are they? Why are they? Do they come back? What is their point? What do they want? What do they do? What part? What galaxy? What quadrant are they in?
Yes, it's a good question. They're there. You never hear from them again. You do hear about them again in Next Gen and in DS9 about Tholian Silk and the Tholian Ambassador. They are a xenophobic race at this time. By the way, captain of the ship Lucerne, that is actually played by Barbara Babcock, who you know as Trelane's mom. That's her voice.
I am Commander Leskeen. You are trespassing in the territorial annex of the Tholian Assembly.
Is that crazy?
Okay.
You'll see her again next episode, by the way.
Sure.
But that's actually pretty cool. I like the ideas of that the Tholians are like, yeah, this is our territory. Get out. And Spock's like, yeah, we're not really interested. We have no interest in. This is free claim. Yeah, well, this is our annex, so get out of here. And I actually like that interaction. It shows that not everyone that the crew of the Federation, of any Federation ship meets is actually not going to be nice, and they're not your typical thugs that they run into, which are basically right now the Klingons, or them in equivalency. This is like some other weird race.
Again, though, it's just like, why? Why are they doing this? It would have been better if they had some motivation. If it was like, okay, they've been studying this phenomenon of the thin space in space for years, and the whole point is like you can't go near it, or else we have to quarantine you. Right?
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. Well, like in Forces of Nature, I really hate that episode from 7th season Next Gen. You know, if you go too fast and warp, you rip space apart. Do you remember that one?
I thought that was
from Next Gen.
I thought that was a Voyager episode.
No, that's a Next Gen episode.
Okay.
It's where they came up with the warp speed limits and why the Voyager's nacelles angle up. But everyone hated that episode. It was a terrible one. But this one over here, I agree with you. Why were the Tholians added? They were added because when they had the original script, which was just Spock in a kind of other dimension that they were trying to rescue, there actually was not enough here. Yeah. They didn't even have the space madness. Can you believe that?
Well,
so the space madness.
The space madness. I don't believe it.
Captain's log. At least the voices have stopped for a while. I suspect I can no longer turn my back on Cadet Stimpy. The rigors of space travel have somehow twisted his mind. He's gone crazy. He's got the space madness.
I don't believe that, because you know what? You could have had, okay, look at this. Cut the space madness. Have a scene talking about, we're entering Tholian space. Oh, who are the Tholians? Oh, they're deeply, we tried, they're deeply xenophobic. They have advanced technology that we're not aware of. You know what I mean? Build it up a little bit.
Yeah, no. Now, I agree with you. But in the meantime, we get, like, people beating up each other on the Enterprise. Like, you got McCoy as orderly trying to kill him, or the stuntmen trying to kill each other. I always like that scene is because it looks cool that McCoy is fighting his assistant. But I like how Chapel's like, oh, yeah, I should probably knock him out. And she slowly walks over to give him a shot. Like, oh, yeah, I can do something here. It's actually kind of cool.
Great job,
But,
nurse.
yeah, exactly. Thanks. And when the Tholians get there, then, of course, they lose their time interface to get there. Then the Tholians open fire on the Enterprise. And there's an ad-libbed line, and Nimoy says, it's the Tholians' renowned punctuality.
Renowned Tholian punctuality.
Well, I kept thinking, it was like, yeah, they're Prussian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, exactly. But that was basically where you're going on. What I found, again, is the part that drives me nuts in this entire thing is that antagonism between Spock and McCoy.
Yeah, out of place.
You know? Out of place. And then you have that memorial scene. I loved your comment in the office. Do you remember what you said?
No, what?
In the memorial scene where Spock, they're going to have a memorial for Captain Kirk while they're waiting there. You said, is this really the time to have a meeting? We're under attack and everyone's going nuts. And we're holding a meeting in the chapel. Maybe just put it like on an audio tape and like everyone get back to work.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah. But that's pretty much where we're at. The Tholians then at this point is where we get the web. After we hear memoriam that or the last orders of Captain Kirk, what'd you think of the Captain Kirk final orders to Spock and McCoy?
Oh, fine, cute, very out of nowhere. When did he record this? Why?
Yeah, it's very similar to the Space Amoeba where Spock kind of reads or makes his epitaph type of thing, saying, "I give this to the finest crew in the Starfleet." But I find it odd that Kirk is leaving these instructions to these guys he's been with for over 3 years, in a sense. So you're saying that Kirk's the only thing keeping them from killing each other?
Yeah,
You're running into that again
wrong.
and again.
And again, it's bad writing. Bad writing does not tell the truth. It doesn't understand the motivation of the characters. Honestly, it's just like an episode that I loved, Arena, right?
Arena, yeah.
And
great episode.
Great episode, but they write Kirk, suddenly he becomes a bloodthirsty warmonger. It's like that's not him.
Right.
So it's like, all right, it's bad writing. It's what bad writing is. And bad writing, sometimes there's bad writing in good shows and good episodes. It's okay. Like a certain amount of it is acceptable. This had a little bit more than usual.
That's true. There's so many things that are going on here. It makes it bizarre. I also one of the things I do like in this is how Kirk is sort of in and out of the universe. I would tell you in Star Trek Continues, which is a fan production, there's a whole little vignette about how he's in this separate universe and the ship and him kind of become alive. The Defiant and him are the entire universe and then develop a sort of relationship. But I actually like that idea where he's coming in and out of phase with the ship. I thought that was okay, even though it's a weird effect, even like where McCoy sticking his hand through people in a desk on the Defiant. What'd you think
I thought that was really cool. Again, one of many cool ideas. By the way, look at it like this. You're dealing with... Look at it like this, right? You're dealing with a sci-fi conceit of something being able to pass through something else, being intangible, right?
Right.
And you're being surrounded by a web, right?
Yeah.
Mix the two. Have one be the reason why you're able to do the other. Right?
Yeah.
Or something. Or maybe that's why they're deploying the web, because they know that the web can stop interface stuff, but anything else couldn't. Like, connect the two.
Right.
But they don't.
Right.
It's just all there. It's like the pieces of an amazing dish are scattered around a kitchen. But no, man, you got to put them all together and cook.
No, I hear you. Well, the big, or what I would call the money shot of this episode is the web itself. The slowest way to capture anything.
There's no analog to this structure in Federation technology. It is, however, an energy field.
The Tholians build a web around the Enterprise. But, of course, the Enterprise is losing power and can't move. What did you think of the effect of that, of the web?
No, I loved it. I thought it was great. I'm curious if it was lifted from. I'm assuming that there was some sci-fi novel that talked about something comparable.
Nope. That was an original creation for this. In fact, this episode won an Emmy for special effects for it. Now, we have the enhanced version on Paramount Plus and on Amazon.
Uh-huh.
But if you go to the original one, it still holds up pretty well today. Again, when I post that, you'll see. But it was hand-drawn, frame
Sure.
by frame. So it was really, really incredible on it. And that's what they won an Emmy on. Hold on, let me just turn to my notes because I'm an old man with papers. This was... Yeah, this is by a guy named Mike Miner. He was such a great science fiction artist. Matt Jeffries had purchased a lot of his items to place around the ship. This was something that was coming more and more into play called rotoscoping.
Oh, yes.
So that's it. But he drew on one frame at a time. The Emmy was because it was shared for the show for Van de Veer for photo effects, but it was really this guy who did it. This is really... I think it really makes the episode, and it's like, what the heck is that? Because that's nothing. I've never seen anything like that in pretty much any other science
Certainly
fiction.
memorable, but here's the thing. I was doing some research about this, and everyone's talking about how like this makes the top 10.
I wouldn't go that far.
I'm just saying that this is what they were saying. I'm like, what? Why? How? And I think it's just because people remember this web.
Yeah, well, it just was not. That's what you remembered for. For the third season, it's one of the more memorable episodes. Let's put it that way. I mean, I know you know the ones that everyone talks about in the third season, like the black and white episode. This one, Spock's brain. This one also stands out, I would say, because of just this special effect. If you'd be hard pressed to say this is the best out of the entire 3-year run. I would say it's one of the better ones.
Not even close.
Nah.
No.
No, one of the better ones out of the third season.
Oh, sure.
You gotta let me
okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's not one of the better ones out of the entire series. It's maybe in the top 30, maybe. I'd be hard pressed to even push that.
The TOS it's got some good stuff, but it's got a lot of duds, so maybe. But anyway, listen, let's wrap this up. Go to the budget and the rating. What do you think, Captain?
All right. Well, before we do that, I just wanted to add just one other thing. The drama again. Ralph Sinensky was fired because NBC blamed him for the strike that the actors had over the IDIC symbol in "Is There No Truth But Beauty?" Because he went over budget. He went over budget again, and the unions were giving crap to Paramount, and it was costing more and more money. So that's why he was fired. And actually, NBC pretty much wanted revenge on him for the actor strike. And Sinensky said, "I'm out of here." So he was out of there. And that's what happened. I did want to mention, since this was written by college students, Judy Burns, the writer of this episode, the original writer on this, she went on to say the heck with anthropology. And she went on to do other things like MacGyver. You might have heard of that episode. Knight Rider.
Oh. So
she was like she did a whole bunch of, in fact, she was still active in production even as we are today kind of thing. So she just went full video. Chet Richardson, the other co-writer, he just went on to be a scientist. And actually, if you look him up on his internet website, he goes, an adventurer. He does like all sorts of things. Yes. And he's an inventor and so forth. You should take a look. Maybe I'll post his website on there as well. Yeah, so it's actually kind of funny how where people started. They were in college and then they said, I'm not going to do that anymore. So I know you wanted to get to cost and so forth, but yeah, that's pretty much about it. I think, by the way, just to end where we are before we get to that, the ending where they come up, they basically interphase away by making an imbalance to get to the another sector and so forth, and they get Captain Kirk along with them. Again, reminds me of the space amoeba, because somehow the shuttle stays with them. Somehow Kirk gets flown away with them as well. It's a little strange. So, I just thought that was, as again, reusing the same things again
self-plagiarizing
and again. Yeah. Paul Blaxley was also a stuntman who's the dead captain, who was also in Trouble with the Tribbles, but that's pretty much about it. And the other big issue is Al Francis is his first episode replacing Jerry Finnerman. And the comment about him is, well, his feet aren't big enough to fill the shoes of Jerry Finnerman. It was like, ouch, that's pretty bad. That's it. One other thing Judy Burns did was Magnum P.I. and the Bionic Woman. But I think, and T.J. Hooker, you might be familiar with that one. It's a Shatner idea. Anyway, let's get to the ending over here. Let's talk about what happens. They save the captain. They figure out that the way to get rid of people not to be space madness is to give them basically Klingon nerve gas as a drink. Scotty drinking scotch and mixing it with scotch again.
Does it make a good mix with scotch?
It should.
I'll let you know.
Check out our short on Scotty drinking scotch. Yeah, he does that. So this was over 5 days. And they fired a director and had that very expensive art scene. How much do you think this cost in 1968?
A lot of special effects, fairly big cast, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of sets.
Don't forget the spacesuits.
And the spacesuits.
Spacesuits.
I say $207,000.
You're wrong, sir.
You lose. Good day, sir.
I'm sorry, Nomad. You have to commit self-destruct here.
Okay.
It was under budget.
What?
Yeah, I know. $175,924. They did it under budget, believe it or not. And so in 2026 dollars, as we're recording this, that's $1,638,529.85. They were $2,438 under budget in 1968, or the equivalent of $22,492.04. Isn't that crazy?
Quite.
You would think there was a lot more, but they basically reused the. Think about it. It's the same sets. The Defiant is the Enterprise. The most expensive things that they have were the phasing in and out and the Tholian Web. Everything else is reused stuff. The music's reused. There's they have like a minor effect on the Defiant as it's glowing. They have the transporter in and out, so that's a couple $100 each, or $800 per person. But that's pretty much it. The worst part, though, at least the spacesuits aren't shower curtains like they were in that original one.
Right.
Original with
those
it.
weren't spacesuits.
God.
Those were raincoats.
Those were shower curtains. Well, anyway,
so
what are you going to give this?
My rating: good concepts, too many; good acting, bad writing. It's pretty amazing when people are like, "Well, what's the problem with the writing?" It's not the lines; it's the form. It's not the lines, not the concept. It's the form. It's putting everything together. It didn't work. But cool twists here and there, seeds. I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10.
Wow. Well, on my very scientific 1 to 10, I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. It's not that we're not that far off. I'm not disagreeing with you entirely. Parts of it I like. I like the web itself. I think that's pretty, but I don't see the point of it. I like the idea that the Defiant is stuck somewhere else and they're trying to rescue Kirk. And I like the idea of the Tholian threat.
It was interesting to see a Kirk light episode. That's very rare.
Yes. Yes, it is. I just don't see how they all kind of glom together. And again, as I pointed out at the beginning, without Gene Kuhn or some humor in it, it's very, very dull, or in some ways, or it's very stiff. It's missing some of the zip that it used to have in the snappy dialogue. And I think that affects not only just this episode, but everything in season 3. But that's really what this is. So there you go, guys, everyone. I gave it a 7. Mike gave it a 6. It's about on par. So let's talk about what's coming up next. On our next episode of Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies, we discuss Plato's Stepchildren. That's an interesting one. Let's just say that we get to see Shatner and Nimoy hamming up, but it's world famous for one particular kiss. And I'm sure you know which one I mean, Mike, don't you?
Oh, yes, of course.
That's what it is. That's coming up next time on Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies, Plato's Stepchildren. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and hit that bell notification. And don't forget to email us at yellingatgas@gmail.com. And please, everyone, hit that like button and email us. Helps the channel grow. And buy some merch at our TeePublic t-shirt store, which is find in the link below. Mike, anything else you want to add?
Nope. Even with a bad episode, it's still great to be exploring Trek with my captain. And I'm looking forward to rewatching all six movies on my fresh VHS.
Well, maybe we'll do it together and we'll give our impressions of that as well. So,
one day,
enjoy that, Mike, as always. And it's always a pleasure to trek through the stars with you and with all of our listeners out there. And as always, everyone, live long and prosper, and we'll see you out there.
Estimated time for completion of the Tholian Web.
Oh, that's why they call it that.